There's something new and fresh. A new beginning. A new experience. A new understanding. A new Earth. Gone are the days of Darwin's theory of evolution. For today are the days we can speak in true understanding and knowing. As a result of David Wilcox's efforts, work, and lifetime studies into searching for truth, he has shared a new revelation that I feel really should be shared with the world. As a combination of my own personal beliefs, studies, and research along with some key things that David mentioned, I'm going to share with you a new perception and perspective of what real evolution actually is. I'll be using scientific studies for proofs on this, and yes, everything I'm going to share with you has been tested scientifically, and I will be sharing which studies relate to the things that I share. The new age is an age of light, and not an age of false light or phony foo-foo light. We're talking about real powerful photonic light, very much like the light that comes from our sun right now. You see, we're going through an unprecedented time, where we've been having solar flares back to back to back. The Schumann resonance has reached heights it's never reached before in our existence, and the planetary Schumann resonance continues to raise in its frequency. Ever since the double-slit experiment, a new understanding that photons are conscious, and that there is much to be discovered and understood about what photonic light and what light actually is, and how it operates as a result of new scientific discoveries and breakthroughs in healing technology, and the understanding of our reality and consciousness. The new breakthrough that I'm bringing forth is a new theory for evolution, and I don't like to use the word theory. I'm just going to say my belief in how evolution actually works. You see, Darwin did not quite have it right, and in fact, our evolution is directly tied to our sun, and with utilizing a context of quantum mechanics, it is our sun that initiates, sparks, sets, and maintains the rate and the evolutionary tone, along with the collective consciousness on the planet, for all evolution. We are currently going through a bombardment of solar frequencies, solar light, light waves, gamma waves, solar storms, solar flares, as we move through this period or solar cycle called solar maximum. We are experiencing solar activity that has not ever been experienced before, and this is due to the fact that we are currently in a planetary ascension. And this, as I see it, is a scientific reality, and the more we move through it, the more you will see how that reality operates. In essence, as beings, we truly are light beings, and that I believe our oldest histories, these are ones dating back millions of years ago, where we originally were fourth-dimensional eternal light beings that downstepped our energies into lower dimensions and operated eternally. And I'm talking about a period where the first humans were beginning to come into play. We did not need to eat food. We did not need to sleep. We did not die. We just needed light to function and exist. Due to new scientific discoveries in quantum mechanics, we've come to learn and find out that this world is a world of photons and light, and that we live in somewhat of a virtual hologram, but not one like the holograms we know of, but more of a living reality or real-life hologram. If you check out my earlier videos, I have a video called The Unified Source Field, and this is a basic understanding that we live in an unlimited, eternal, infinite ocean, or medium of eternal energy, called ether. Now, ether was a common practice and a part of natural science that the ancients and some of the advanced civilizations of the past knew as a part of nature. It was understood that everything exists within a medium of energy called ether. Everything is the ether, comes from the ether, and exists within an eternal pure potential form of energy, while in its demanifested form, or not in a form of expressed matter. Ether is matter in a potential energy form, and becomes matter or manifests as matter when the potential energy etheric form comes into expression, or is expressed by a consciousness or conscious being. All things exist as, or in waves or forms of potential energy or ether, before expressed or manifest as matter. It's easiest to describe this as literally like an ocean of energy that operates very similar to water. When one waves their arms through water, the vibrations that are created as a result of that can be felt and affect or have some influence on the rest of the ocean, because it's all connected in waves, or one wave, or waves of higher dimensional energy, going all the way back up to source. This is how a person experiences the ether, like water in a pool. What we experience as sensing the vibe or vibrations of a room that we walk into is an innate human sense to feel the vibrations and oscillations of ether. When someone in a really bad mood sits next to you, and you can kind of feel it, you're sensing their emotions, their personal vibrations, which are coming into your etheric space, or energetic field, or magnetic field that you emit. If they are emitting a vibration that is resonant with yours, it will feel pleasant, or help to amplify your fields of vibration. But if it is disresonant, it's going to feel exactly like it sounds. This ability or clairsentience to feel energy is a gift all humans have varying levels of, to be able to sense varying levels of vibrational energy, which exists in higher dimensions, or higher levels of ether. The ether is constantly flowing, moving, manifesting, and expressing as matter when in the third dimension or higher as we become more evolved and expand our consciousness. Everything is conscious, and thus everything is a form of consciousness. Not all consciousness is self-aware like the human being, whom is a form of divine consciousness. But in being almost the highest level of consciousness that is a self-aware being, we have the ability to create, in that we are a fractal, or a part of the true original source. We are source within a context and dimensional frame expressing as an individuated aspect of source consciousness. This is a little more complex than the way it's sounding, but I'm trying to paint a picture here for those to understand. As we evolve and expand our consciousness, which is what ascension is, it's an expansion of consciousness or consciousness expanding. We are able to have more expanded experiences of heightened consciousness. This stimulates and is stimulating our dormant higher perceptual capabilities and is utilizing larger percentages of our brain actively, thus moving from a place of duality, or conscious and unconsciousness, toward a state of unity and oneness, non-polarized, and fully conscious and aware of all things in that individual's frame of reality. So getting back to the point of this video, everything exists as ether, and will continue to exist as ether in its primordial form of potential energy, in an infinite sea of ether. When consciousness is in its primordial form of ether, it operates and exists as a waveform of light or a light wave. These are photons of light moving in and out and through the primordial ocean or soup of ether. When consciousness is expressed as matter, that wave form of light collapses into particles, or the photon then collapses from a wave to a particle. In this form of particles is where matter is created, manifest, or expressed as conscious energy or consciousness, all of which are fractals or part of source. In its expressed three-dimensional form, light expresses as particles and gives the impression of matter or physicality or something tangible. But in reality, what you are seeing is light or a light wave that is vibrating at a slower pace or rate and appearing much more dense. The slower light vibrates, the more dense of an appearance or perception it will give off. This is why in spirituality people talk about raising their vibrations, because as we raise our vibrations we are growing and expanding our consciousness, and this also evolving into higher forms of consciousness. This is also a part of the unified source, field, and an understanding and explanation of how our universe operates and how all things operate. From this perspective, we can now understand and explain how time and space works. We can explain things like ghosts or the appearance of such entities, as well as explain what happens when you're dreaming. Also, where are you when you're dreaming? And why does your body when you're dreaming feel much less dense than your actual physical body? Through these understandings, we will begin to see and learn that we as beings only really require light, or photonic light, or photons of light as sustenance for us to operate in our own individual frames of existence. The food we eat and the energy that we either store or develop comes from its source of light. It's just a regurgitated form of light that's similar to plants who can use sunlight through photosynthesis to live. Well, humans previously have to eat those plants, or eat animals that eat plants, or eat animals that eat animals that eat plants in order for us to get our life energy or source energy of light, which in fact is sun energy as we experience it. Let's stop here with this perspective of the unified source field and how our universe operates, and how we exist as consciousness within the unified source field, and how this consciousness expresses in different forms throughout dimensions and densities, and also matter or etheric energy. From here, I can show how ether, and what role ether plays on every single atom, and how geometries or sacred geometries are the foundation and part of the operation of this experience and existence as consciousness in this universe. In understanding how evolution works, I need to give this context so my explanation can be understood. And we need to kind of have these basic understandings accurately understood and explained, and learned from my explanation of evolution to make sense. From this unified source field perspective, now we know we need light to live and exist. As we evolve more and expand our consciousness, we will evolve into consuming light directly, or light as food, as opposed to consuming the light within the matter or consciousness that we are currently consuming for energy and sustenance. Now, with this understanding, we're going to move to new understandings of what light can actually do for, with, and to our consciousness in regards to healing, medicine, and other things, and what role light has or plays on our consciousness and being. Here, I will move into some new theories of light technology. It has been tested scientifically and shown that when a salamander egg is susceptible to gamma waves of light or photonic light, that it has the ability to change the form or matter form of the being, as much as the egg transforming from a salamander to a lizard. It's also been tested and shown that gamma waves can have a physical transforming effect on carbon-based beings, or animals of divine light consciousness. It's been shown that when susceptible to gamma wave light infusion, or simply gamma waves of light, an animal can transform or will be transformed to a different type of animal. This is where we get the idea that when people are susceptible to certain types of radiation, like in The Simpsons, a fish might grow a third eye when affected by radiation. That's because gamma wave light radiation has the ability to change or transform the physical form. With this being said, in this ascension cycle that we are in, our sun has been sending off massive emissions of gamma wave light radiation, or gamma waves, as well as other light waves during these solar storms or solar flares that we have been experiencing en masse for the past 2 to 3 years. There has been an exponential increase in the light energy or light radiation that's been emitted from our sun, producing massive changes in the experienced light wave spectra or photonic light that we are hit by or that we take on from our sun. It is also noted that this is not something that typically happens, and has not happened in our lifetime except for what has appeared to be recently in this solar maximum cycle. For reasons yet to be explained, our sun has been acting incredibly differently, and has changed and is changing and emitting different light waves than it usually does on a consistent level, and at higher intensities than usual. These light waves are hitting our bodies and our consciousness, and thus are transforming our DNA, and activating our consciousness and DNA in areas where they were previously dormant, thus affecting us and transforming our bodies and consciousness in a positive way for rapid accelerated growth and evolution. There has also been studies showing that our DNA has drastically and exponentially changed in a higher evolving way the last few hundred to 1,000 years than what we were like thousands of years ago. There was a recent study done showing the DNA of the human today versus the DNA 20,000 years ago, even 5,000 years ago, as being so significantly different, thus showing leaps and evolution, or Through multiple studies that tend not to be brought to the public eye, our sun and ascension cycles, or stellar activation cycles, as some call it, create an opportunity environment for accelerated growth in evolution or expansion of consciousness. One can enhance these opportunities of evolution or accelerated growth in evolution by engaging certain activities and methods to get the most out of these ascension or stellar activation cycles, thus optimizing this short brief time where light waves and energy waves are coming into the planet and affecting all consciousness on it, to where one person can maximize the outcome or effect of these healing and activate. This is going on now and has been over the past 2 years, and one simply has but to Google these things to get confirmation on what I'm saying. These solar activities, as well as other factors, are signs and confirmations of our current planetary ascension and expansion of consciousness, or rising of vibration for the entire collective consciousness here on the planet. I've placed the link in the description box. Please watch it to get as much information on my next statement. But it is these light wave emissions and solar emissions or activities that set the tone for the evolution of all things on our planet. So depending on how life started on this planet, which we can have another video on later, and let's say things were simply just aquatic at the beginning of life on this planet, well, the sun will begin to emit different varying variations of gamma waves or radiation, igniting or changing life, and the physical forms or variations of species on the planet based on what is emitted or given off of from our sun. The video link here to David Wilcox's work will give the confirmation and scientific understanding of how this happens. I wanted to share this with everyone so we can let go of Darwin's theory of evolution and completely forget the older narrative of what we have been programmed to believe is how we evolve, so that we can get the most out of these light emissions or activations and accelerate our own consciousness and growth to the highest capacity. Because being aware and conscious of these things helps in the expediency of integrating these light waves and gamma wave transmissions for accelerated evolution and evolutionary growth and expansion of our consciousness.